Hello, friends. Today we are meeting again for one more event of Suchitra Suvarna Sambrama. Suchitra Film Society, as you know, is reaching its 50th year this 2021 August 28th. We are celebrating this whole year as a golden jubilee year, and we are trying to bring in as many films as possible, and we are also trying to have lots of discussion. And today, we are trying to remember a good friend of Suchitra, Chalam Bennurkar. And to remember him, we have two guests with us today. One is R.V. Ramani, the cinematographer of the film Kutti, Japani in Kuzandaigal, and a lot of other films that R.V. Ramani has done. R.V. Ramani, and there is, I welcome R.V. Ramani to this evening's webinar. And I also welcome Nikhila. Nikhila is a Bangalorean, and she knows Kannada very well. And she's right now the professor in uh, the Department of Film Studies of English and Other Language University in Hyderabad. And she's a very good friend of mine, and she is also a regular follower of whatever events that we do in Suchitra, both online or whenever we do something in Suchitra. And if she is in Bangalore, she tries to join us. And we also share films with Nikhila whenever we have a soft copy of the film. That way we have a contact with the students of Nikhila also, and with Nikhila herself. Uh, Nikhila, if you remember, friends, the Hyderabad Literature Festival, she had done a talk or kind of a dialogue with Girish Kasravalli, which was very well watched. Even recently, also we had shared that discussion in the members group, and many members did discuss about the whole thing that happened in that discussion. Before beginning today's program, let me first uh, tell you what R.V. Ramani is. R.V. Ramani is a FTII film graduate. He was earlier a photojournalist in Mumbai. Later on, he decided to become a motion picture photographer, and so he joined Pune and he graduated from there. And today, he is one of the most sought after cinematographer for documentaries, specifically those documentaries which are experimental in all nature. You know, some of his documentaries are available on rvramani.com, and we also wish to bring showcase one or two of his films, specifically what he has done on Sharat Chandra, who did this one more documentary on John Abraham, that we wish to bring it and show it to our audience. And we will also try to show as many other films R.V. Ramani has done till now as a documentary filmmaker to our members. The way he tries to narrate through camera, the way he constructs his documentary is something phenomenal, and any filmmaker will always feel the poetry on screen, how that has been constructed by Ramani. So we are delighted to have him today with us to discuss and talk about Chalam. Of course, I have already introduced to you who Nikhila is. Let me also tell you a few things about what Chalam Bennurkar is. Chalam Bennurkar should be remembered for the kind of contribution that he did for the film society movement throughout Karnataka and almost all of South India. Though a college dropout, he later on he started doing sign. He was a signboard artist, Chalam Bennurkar, And then he joined CETS, Center for Information on Education and Development Studies in Bangalore. With that, he started doing documentaries on various issues. Out of that, Kutti Japan in Kuzandaigal, which he did somewhere in 1990, won him lots of laurels, including the Leipzig International Award and Yamagata International Film Festival Award, and very many awards for Kutti Japan in Kuzandaigal. What we should remember about Chalam is, though he was working in a NGO, he started a subdivision called Janamadhyam, with which he started screening films at various places. In those days, when when we did not have, the digital content, after digital content came, it is more easy to watch a film. But in those days, films had to be carried with a projector. He used to carry a 16 projector, set it up in a village, and show great films to the audience. That way he started um, kind of a film. It's a movement to reach those people who did not have access for good films. That way he also helped the movement which was started by John Abraham, which is called as Odessa, uh, with Odessa Collective of Kerala, um, for which there was a great contribution by Chalam. And then he also started a program called Sakshi, where he was showcasing documentaries of various people in one platform. That through Sakshi, we have seen so many documentaries, including I can name so many that I have watched as an audience, those films which were screened in Sakshi. And Suchitra Film Society by itself is indebted to Chalam, because he was the curator of the short films which are screened in the International Film Festival organized by Suchitra. The Bangalore International Film Festival was first done by Suchitra Film Society, which was later on taken over by the government of Karnataka. We did the first 4 versions of the Bangalore International Film Festival, and all these 4 versions, it was Chalam who was curating the short films, which were coming from the international platform. And of course, there was Setu Madhava Jodidara, who was also uh, a team member with Chalam. Chalam has done lots of documentaries. One is Kutti Japan in Kuzandaigal, which we have watched many times. Suchitra has also screened it in the analog version when it was in 16 print. We also have watched it yesterday and today, and it was not available on Vimeo. Thanks to Pedestrian Pictures Deepu, he got a good copy of the film, and he was able to upload it onto Vimeo. Because of that, we were able to share it with all our members. And I feel happy that till now, almost close to 150 people have watched this film. Even if we had screened it in our auditorium, it only has a seat of 100 people. Now we are trying to reach more. And as the film is going to stay on our platform, suchitra.org, till tomorrow night, more, probably after this discussion, more people may watch this film. That is my a kind of a positive feeling that the more people watch Kutti Japan in Kuzandaigal, they will remember what is happening between each firecracker that they're going to burn, or each matchstick, how it is, what kind of a uh, atmosphere is there in Shivakashi, and on child labor in total. And then he did a film called All About Famila. Chalam's another documentary. It was on transgender issues. And then he did a film on Kunde Habba, which is a very popular festival in Kodagu. And he also did a documentary on Nave Yarava. Nave Yarava means Yaravaru is a tribal group which is in and around from Kodagu up to Nagarahole. It's one of the earliest settlers in the region. They have always been sidelined by the mainstream society. Even today, Eravas do not find place in the mainstream of the society. He did a film on them, and he also worked with Amitav Chakravarti on a film called Bishar Blues, and he was also working on films on Sufi tradition and on Gohar Jan. In 2017, 7th May, uh, Chalam was found in a pond in Chitradurga. Before that, for 8 days, he was missing. His wife Kamala had also given a missing complaint. Later, he was found somewhere there. He was disturbed. He was highly disturbed. For what reason, we do not know. But a disturbed guy also left us disturbed that his sudden demise, he had a lot more things to contribute to the film society movement and film as a whole. We miss him today, Chalam. He was a great friend. And in remembering, in memory of Chalam, we have screened this film, Kutti, Japani in Kuzandaigal, and those people who have watched will be really enlightened, I hope, with this discussion that we're going to have, that we're going to do with Nikhila and R.V. Ramani. R.V. Ramani was the cameraman of that film. Nikhila, of course, the whole structure will be like this. Nikhila will present her opinion or her idea of what the film is in the beginning, and then we will have a dialogue with R.V. Ramani. Once again, I welcome each participant who has joined this discussion, and I request Nikhila to present her opinion or her treatise on Kutti Japan in Kuzandaigal. Thank you.
Thank you so much for introducing me, and also this wonderful platform that you have created, Suresh sir. It is very nice that people like me in faraway Hyderabad can participate in Suchitra's activities through this online mode. I also congratulate Suchitra Film Society for its 50th anniversary. I've been trying to follow the activities, particularly the online events of Suchitra, and I'm very grateful that so many events, back-to-back events are happening, which we can be a part of. So thank you very much. About this particular film, I think we should all thank Chalam Bennurkar for making this gem of a film. And I think it's wonderful that Suchitra is commemorating Chalam Bennurkar in this fashion by screening his film. And also at a timely moment, just a week before Deepavali, to remind ourselves of the terrible social cost when we use firecrackers during Deepavali. So in that sense, it is both timely and also extremely important that we remember people who have contributed to cinema viewership, to film making in this fashion. I think one of the things that is missing for many of us is the sense of remembering people who have contributed to cinema, who have made us film viewers and cinephiles, and I think this is wonderful that Suchitra is doing that. After watching this film, I have put down a few points which I would like to now share. As I said just before we went live, I was telling Ramani sir that the cinematography is particularly striking in this film. The camera drawing close to the children's faces, capturing their curious eyes, their shy smiles, their coy looks, and their responsiveness to the camera is so humanizing the children in a situation that has dehumanized them. So that contrast I thought was extremely striking. So the situation is so dehumanizing, the kind of their workplace, the way in which they are treated in that workplace, which so dehumanizes them, and yet they come alive for us because of the camera work, where most of the images are up front. We see the children at close quarters, their smiles, and which so contrasts with their surroundings. I thought that was one of the most striking aspects of the film. While there is a change or quickening of emotion of their face in response to the camera that is moving towards them or moving in front of them, their hands continue to do what they are used to doing. So the second kind of visuals that were really striking for me was the interiors of their workplace, the cramped, ill-lit surroundings, the various stages in the process of matchmaking and fireworks in which they are involved. So even as they are shying and responding to the camera, their hands are continuing to do what it is used to doing. So there is no break from work just because this novelty of the camera has entered into their workspace. So again, I thought that was a very striking aspect, and the way the film juxtaposes these images, the smiling faces, the shy eyes with the working hands, and their own surroundings, I thought was very nice. Also, while these images of working children themselves are unforgettable, the interviews, that they go along with the visuals are equally striking. Let me begin with the voice of one of the children. The interviews with one of the children. I think the only child that speaks in this particular film is a little girl, and she's prodded on, and then she opens up, talks a little bit about the place where she's working. So when the interviewer asks her if she does not like going to the school and she likes the work that she does, she says instead of playing and wasting time, she does this work. Well, it makes us pause for a moment to think of how she has internalized the rationalization and discourse that has justified this kind of exploitation and labor. So whether she is aware or not is secondary of what is happening to her. Her lost childhood is secondary, but that she is able to speak the language of the adults who have justified their use of children was for a moment, it was very arresting to me. Earlier we had heard Mr. Ranganathan from the chamber say precisely that just to engage and occupy the children, you give them some work at home like that. Instead of working at home, we are just bringing them here. So it is precisely that language that she seems to have picked up. Or is it that the situation that she is in is so difficult, is insufferable, that she can only keep up this pretense to continue with what she is doing? It was a very striking and moving moment to hear her say that, and say that smilingly. Again, we hear in the background children being told about why this place is called Kutti, Japan. In fact, the film begins with somebody in the background, kind of talking about asking the children. So it's like almost like a pedagogic kind of an atmosphere where they're asking questions, the children are responding, then somebody is correcting, the children, and so it seems like a dialogue with the children is happening. So again, it's a way to to begin with. It's like telling us, oh, here is a place of efficiency, and then what unfolds is something so totally unexpected, that this is not a place of just efficiency, cold efficiency, but something else is happening here. And so in that sense, we go on to see the rest. The third discussion, this is with Prabhakaran, the activist, who gives the sociological and economic dimension of the problem, and also the cultural problem, again, is very striking. So, I mean, he's as much of an economist or a sociologist as the ones you would find in our universities, because he has a complete understanding of what is the situation that has given rise to it, what are the kinds of rationalizations that the employers make to continue with what they are doing, what is the social impact, what is the cultural impact, that family members cannot sit together, that the grandmother and the grandchild are so distant from each other. So how is cultural transmission going to happen? These are all very important questions and dimensions. So it's not only about a robbed childhood. It is not only about the filthy atmosphere that they are exposed to, the health hazards that the children are exposed to, but also in terms of aspects. How are they? What is it that they are going to transmit to the next generation? What is it that they are going to learn from their predecessors? So it looks like there is a big gap that has come in as a result of the place that they are working and the work that they do. Also, the way in which Prabhakaran places it in the context of the region of Shivakashi, the kind of or the lack really of other options for employment, the hard quarry work that is available, the near absence of agricultural activity because of the harsh weather conditions. So we see the story of the Shivakashi children placed in this larger context of the region. And thanks to Prabhakaran, we are also able to understand the full implications of what we are seeing. The visuals themselves are one thing, but these interviews and also the contrast between the interviews, I'll come to that in a moment. The other aspect that again I found very striking were the newspaper clips and the verbal images giving us a perspective. So there is a Nehruvian dream, for instance, which almost comes across to us as a rhetoric, so empty rhetoric. So here is Nehru talking, or all the leaders talking about the future of India, children as the future of India, juxtaposed with what we are seeing, the atmosphere in the match factory and the firework factory. And in the background, along with that, to go in the background, the Villupadal song of Kalai Chelvi and her team. So again, which we are seeing certain kinds of verbal images on the screen, and the background, the folk music, which is very, very interesting. I'll quickly talk about three striking contrasts, that I found, in the film. One, I have already spoken about it, the inhuman working conditions versus or as opposed to the faces that light up and, almost transform as soon as the camera comes before them. The Villupadal song, which sings about Krishna and the idyllic childhood So Krishna is our archetypal god whom we celebrate as a child, and here are these little Krishnas, and what kind of no lip service to our mythological gods and heroes will justify what we are doing to these little children. And the last aspect is the difference in the views between the employer and the chamber person, the match factory owner and the person from the chamber and the activist. The claims that they make, that there is no exploitation of the children, that everyone is paid well, that we are actually in some sense they are benefactors, because of us they're able to have a full meal, they have their livelihood and so on. And the images that we see, the half naked bodies, the camera trails behind a boy, we see his bony half naked back as he enters into the dark atmosphere, which belies everything that they seem to be telling us, that everything is fine. Of course, we could do with a little government help, but we are doing, everything that we can to the people in the region. Otherwise, they, without agriculture, without any other form of livelihood, they would be completely at sea. So these contrasts were striking. I have two kind of issues or questions. Maybe so we can take this up for discussion later, and I'll stop with that. One issue or one interesting question I had really was the question of access and entry. Last couple of days ago, we were watching Lucrecia Martel's, Argentinian filmmaker Lucrecia Martel's documentary, The City That Flees. And it's a documentary about her inability to enter even access the gated community that she's trying to film. So here I was really struck by how Chalam and the team could get access to these factories. Are they so unself-conscious about the atmosphere that they have? Do they really believe the fiction that they have created, that everything is fine, in our match factories? So is it due to that they have allowed access to the filmmaker? So it was really a question, and maybe Ramani sir can tell us a little bit about this. The second question that I had really also again has to do with what Suresh sir said in the beginning. This is a film made in which was released in early 90 probably, but may have been made in the late 80s. It has a distinctly pre-liberalization, privatization ring to it, I thought, when it was still possible to appeal to the state, say that, okay, maybe if the state intervenes, maybe if the state hears our voice, our problems may be solved. Because after liberalization, the state became just a handmaiden for the capitalists and the corporate interests. So I also thought maybe we could talk about this, moment just on the doorstep of liberalization, where yes, there are exploitative factories, but the belief that if the state intervenes, maybe in the form of compensation, or maybe in some material form, or even in the form of laws, our problem will be solved. So this faith in the state, when it had not yet got eroded, I thought these two were questions that we could think further and take up. So thank you for listening to me and for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts on the film.
Thanks, Nikhila. Both the questions that you have raised are very valid, and we have to think on that. The first question, you are trying to say that there were actors used. There were, as I understand, these documentaries, they did not have actors.
No. I said access, access.
Access. You're,
Yeah,
oh, okay,
I was
okay.
talking about access. I mean, is it,
Okay,
how
okay.
did they even enter those spaces?
Yeah, yeah,
So it
yeah.
was a question of access, yeah,
Yeah,
not
yeah. I
actors.
think Ramani will be able to give us a
Yeah,
better light on what happened and how they were able
yeah,
to get into all these things.
yes,
And
yes.
yeah, now we'll go for the second part of the today's event, that having a discussion with Ramani sir on Chalam and also on Kutti Japan in Kuzandaigal. Of course, the first question that we have is already posed by Nikhila. Probably Ramani can answer on how did you get the access and how did you shoot the whole film?
Yeah, I mean, the access for me is from a different position actually,
Mhm.
because now because I'm invited into the film by Chalam. That is
Okay.
my first access, I would say. And I'm missing actually Jacob, who is also one of the
The editor of the film. Yeah,
editor and collaborator of the film.
mm,
So I'm missing him in the panel now today, but
yeah,
maybe he's looking at it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
So yeah, Jacob was is a close friend, and he invited me to into this project and introduced me to Chalam. That's when I met Chalam for the first time,
okay.
and we immediately kind of struck a deal, and then we kind of became comfortable to work on the film.
Mm,
And I realized that Chalam had already done a lot of work in terms of research. He has been at the subject for quite some time now, and then wanting to work on it as a film at some point in time, and he was also looking
feature
for funding at that time. So when I joined, I think there was the funding was also not very clear at that time. But
film.
he said anyway we're going to start and want to get the team together. So that's how I came in, and that's in fact it is you Suchitra's 50 years of Suchitra's activities,
Mm,
and this is the 30 years of this Kutti Japan and Kuzandaigal film.
yeah,
It's the 30th anniversary, and
yeah,
it is also the 30th anniversary of Chalam starting his first film, and
yeah.
also uh, this is also that even around the same time even I started my own activity as a cinematographer, because just
Yeah,
before that I have been doing a few works, but just around the same time, around late 80s kind of time.
yeah. You
So
passed out in 1985, I think.
yeah, 85, and then I've been working as an assistant cameraman in Bombay,
Yeah,
and then did some earlier films, also some more films, and then
yeah,
this was later.
yeah.
Yeah, so when we went to Sivakasi, then when you told that this is the way it is, the place, and this is the way situations are, I went through the kind of research papers what he has told me, and kind of Chalam had also written down like kind of an idea how to go about this whole treatment of the film.
Mhm.
And there was also Suresh Rajamani, who is also the audio person.
Yeah,
So the team was basically me, Suresh, and Jacob, Chalam, of course. And locally there were some people who were also helping us, and Prabhakaran also was, of course, one
yeah.
of our
Mm,
lead person in terms of connecting to people and identifying places and taking us to places and all that.
yeah.
Uh, Nikhila's question, again maybe come straight to that, which is basically like when we went for the first recce for the shoot, we had already gone with the crew, with our camera, with camera attendants, with equipment. So we had almost like 8, 9 people crew, which were fitting in a van, Matador van. And then we will go. And then initially we camped in Sivakasi only. We decided to take up a place, a lodge, and then we were living there. And then from there we will go to these places where we needed to film. And within 2 days we realized that we are not going to get any access anyway.
Mm,
And moment we go, they kind of clamp down. And there was also a kind of a threat that was issued to us that we cannot be around and do this kind of filming. And so we left Sivakasi and moved on to a nearby place called Shankaran Koil. These are all like vague memories I got. Maybe that's why I wanted Jacob's, company right now, because he would have told me something. But I remember that we moved out of Sivakasi because we were under threat that we cannot film. Um, so we moved to a place called Sankaran Koil, and from there it is about 2 hours drive from Sivakasi, and then we kind of settled down there, and then every day early morning at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock we leave to Sivakasi, and then we go to this place. Now, the plan of action was that we knew that we are not going to get access. And we have got equipment, we have got hired equipment, 16mm camera, which came from Bombay, with the crew members. No, sorry, not from Bombay, from Chennai, from Prasad Productions. So the two people who comes with the camera, they were there. Then there were two people who were coming with this Nagra, which is the sound equipment. So they were also there. So we had a big crew. And then, and how do we go into a space and film now? Because a blanket thing was no permission. And so, in spite of various research and thing that we did, moment they saw us, there was kind of a resistance to it, and they get very worried. And so the plan, what we did was, after reaching Sangrangoil, we decided this plan that we will go to a place where we want to film, and some of the members like Chalam and maybe some other people who are a part of the research team and the production team, they will start talking to people and trying to negotiate. And
Yeah.
I myself and with my camera and Suresh with his sound recording equipment, we slowly move into the and then we will find a way to film. And one of the things that I also decided was that, which Nikhila had brought out right in the beginning of our talk on the film, which I felt was, she got it correctly in the sense that that's what I was also planning. Like one of the things that I was, when I was involved as a cinematographer in a topic like this, which is looking at the kind of exploitation of children in a kind of situation which is like closed in all ways, and I felt that the images in some way should be independent of this narrative, you know.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that I was very, very conscious about it. I don't want to follow this narrative as a poor children, as sympathetic, that I look at them in a sympathetic way or in a very sad way, or just accentuate and pump those kind of feelings into the film. I thought I will take the opposite side. And we discussed it also. The thing I said, like, I'm very keen to look at children as children, and as I would like to, I really like meeting them and really enjoyed meeting them also. They were like lively kids, and so the context in which the whole film is happening, I thought, okay, that is a larger narrative, but these are the key players in the film, and I would like to see them as kids, and I would like to film them as intimately as possible. In fact, the language of intimacy for me came through this film. For the first time, I kind of worked on this a lot in terms of how do you work on intimacy in filming, and then we decided that the camera comes in series of lenses, the lens box comes when we have 25mm, 16mm, 12mm, 50mm, and all those. Then a zoom lens also comes. So there's a lens kit that comes along with it. And then I said, just put 25mm lens in the camera, and I'm going to shoot this whole film on 25mm. And I logically, what I argued was that for me, the perspective of how I look at the kids should be very, very natural. And I don't want any distortions. Minimize all kinds of distortions while filming people, and be close to kids as much as possible, and film them in very intimate space. Connect with them in a strong way. And some of this lensing at that various kind of few trials I made. I tried 16mm, I tried 25, I tried even 70, and those kind of lenses. But I settled down to 25 because one of the reasons was also there was no time to do any experiments in the location. You have to just shoot and come up fast before anybody says, or decides that they are problematic people. So it was almost like a guerrilla kind of a shooting.
Yeah. Guerrilla shot.
Yeah. But it was not like we are going to attack them. We were trying to relate with them. So it is like you enter a factory, somehow enter a place, and then you quickly make a relationship with the kids out there and quickly come out. It was almost like that. There was not a single place where we could leisurely spend time, nothing like that. And all the situations we filmed in this, what we see in the film today, are all filmed like that. That you go quickly relate. I mean, my position is that I want to not capture them or, shoot them, nothing like that. It is like I want to quickly go in, relate with the kids as best as I can, look at what they're doing, and then come out first. and that somehow did create a very beautiful kind of visual vocabulary. And as you rightly put, that somehow they surface, in a different way, and the topic also is, it's not that they are in contrast, but they kind of support each other in terms of arguments, and in terms of the empathy, or the
Yeah.
situation that deal with it. So that's one of the things that I would one strong thing that which I continue to use now, that kind of a method, in terms of lensing, the choice of lensing, and the kind of proximity that you reach towards your character, and that you don't capture or shoot people. I mean, I don't use those words, but you relate through a lens, you relate with your camera, and
Oh.
bring that experience of a relationship as quickly as possible, and then get out. You know, like, and
Yeah.
it was like we leave that place immediately and we go to some other place, and then we were planning like that, each day some 3 locations, and the next day another fresh ideas, we'll go here, we'll try here. But
Mm.
but there are a few places where people allowed us, saying that okay, uh, because the some context they were created was, they felt that we are slightly, they're okay type people, they just want to see inside of those kind of things.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's how the access of the whole thing was like that. We didn't have access to a 99%, I would say 95%, maybe moderately put. All was like, somebody will be talking outside, I will slowly move in, as if like, just want to see, and then I quickly film and then come out.
Yeah. Yes.
There
That was
was
a great,
But there were also
great to
times
hear
when
the
the
whole
entire
journey.
crew sorry, there were also times when the entire everybody will also go in and come out. But
Yeah.
this other way was working out much better. It was very nice.
It was great to hear the whole idea. In 90s, if the film was released on 90s, probably you were shooting somewhere in 86, 87, somewhere there. As I understand, the whole
86,
process was close to 3 years.
yeah, 88 maybe, around 88,
Yeah.
89.
Yeah.
Mm.
And you had a huge footage to edit and bring it down to approximately around 1 hour. So carrying a 16 camera by then, most of the people would have thought that film shooting is something like this. They would have had their own imagination. They would have had their own myth surrounded around shooting a film. Probably you were able to use all that and get in, and then get shoot something and then come out.
Yeah, when we have to go in, we have to go in with sound recordings. There was always
Yeah.
the sound recordings and the camera. Camera also will come with me. So 4 of us minimum in any space will be there. Plus
Yeah.
Chalam, and if they are finished with their their arrangements, then they will also come in, figure out, and by the time the shooting will be done and finished,
Yeah.
that's how the whole shooting was done. And yeah, and I very strongly remember that when we gave the negatives for processing in Prasad laboratories, because we don't know how the footage has come in, and I know that we have filmed well and we managed quite well. And so when the rushes came and we saw it, rushes like in silence, no, we don't watch it with sound. And we saw it in the Prasad labs in the Saligramam, Chennai.
Yeah.
I was so happy watching the rushes. I said like, wow, it's come out so well. And I had that euphoria feeling, of
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's come out the way one has thought about, and felt good about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And one more interesting thing about use of camera, uh, you normally show something, an event, somebody is doing something. You try to hold on, you try to sustain on that for quite a long time.
Yeah.
Then your camera moves right to show something more, one more detail of the same thing. Probably some boy is catching some the whole frame of matchstick. Then he is placing somewhere. Then as it pans to the left, you reveal that there is one more world. This whole stay of the camera, and then pan to the right, and then the slow pan to the left.
Mm.
did you think of that kind of a movement as you went into the factory, or was it planned?
No, no, it was not planned. The thing is, you have to be in rhythm with a lot of things, no?
Yeah.
Because I decided that I'm going to be completely in tune with those kids and with them as in terms of engaging with them in a certain way. So what you do is that when you go and start filming,
Yeah.
you quickly catch the rhythm of the whole thing. Like I remember a few shots which is everything. All of you will remember where this girl is putting something, tuck, 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 and then slowly after a point I go to the face.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that entire rhythm of that. I'm just sitting right next to her, and then it's so fascinating to see what she's doing, and then it's a question of rhythm. One can speed up all this, one can shoot fast also, but here it is a situation of that you are with them. That statement that I am with these kids.
Yes.
Whatever they are going through, I am with them. I'm looking at them. I'm experiencing what they're doing, and I'm completely engrossed with what they're doing, and I like their presence in me being there. So that is a tonality of attitude which one has filmed. So it's entirely kind of a choreography also. It's a kind of rhythm of the whole shooting. And there was no hurry in the shooting part of it. But though the hurry was in the production part of it, there were a lot of tension outside. But I didn't want to permeate that into the shooting part of it. When I go and start filming, I'm already completely in tune with what I want to do. And so it was planned out, that was worked out also. And we discussed it. And then this is how said we will go to do it. And it worked out in that kind of situation. Maybe it's not a formula for every situation, but in this kind of time and place and that mood we were all in, and it kind of worked out. And it's just a rhythm of filming and getting that
And
experience.
the same idea you have used even in the folk performers,
Yeah.
She keeps on hammering, and then you reveal the other things, and then when you pan, you see some more people there, and they're also contributing to the whole idea of the singing.
Yeah. Nice.
That's one beautiful method of narrative.
Yeah.
The pan to the right and pan to the left.
Yeah.
Before that, there is a long stay on the main event.
Yeah.
That's a great idea, actually. Instead of if you had a digital camera, probably you would have placed 3 cameras, and then you would have shot 3 different angles, probably. Because you had only one camera, and that was a 16 camera, and you are using one specific lens, and you should communicate to the focus puller that I'm going to pan here, and you have to shift your focus to some specific place. The whole, the team effort can be seen there. Normally what happens is the impetus or the idea of the cameraman or idea of the director takes over, and it becomes a rehearsed thing. But no shot here looks rehearsed.
Yeah, but I must tell you, Nikhila and Suresha, that there were plans of other kinds also in the shooting. We were identified about 3 characters to work with. All those elements slowly moved out of the structure of the film. Like there was one girl who was slightly grown up girl, maybe she was in her 18 years old. We wanted to work with her, and she was like she was also a child labor at one point of time. Now she's slightly grown up and still working, and we wanted to make her as one of the characters. Then there was a boy. If you remember, that boy was finally he came only in one shot in the film, maybe 2 shots, where you can see that it's a small pathway and he's going through this this wheel is going.
Yeah. Almost subjective camera kind of a thing. You follow him.
You walk through, and then he goes to a room, and then I see somebody walking there. That boy was one of the main characters in the film, where we had planned a lot of things with this boy, and that we had filmed also, but that did not finally came into the film. Then there was one more girl we had worked on, Mariamma, that interview that you talked about, Nikhila, that girl who was talked about. It's natural that those kind of things, And that girl was also one main character also. We had tried to work with her also. There were a few characters which we were trying to do, make it as kind of a lead into the narrative in some way.
That specific shot of you following that boy.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
On a shoulder-held camera, that is a revelation, revelation of a whole world. It goes on revealing lots of things.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic shot.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very visually very satisfying experience, working on this film, and somehow things clicked well. And a lot of places, Chalam's sensitivity to the whole narrative and the way it's moving. Also, it's a very important thing. And he will always say that he was always fascinated with the idea of hands. Chalam would always,
Yeah.
like even I bring this now in the frame, and it always this idea of hands. So this even this one interview where we were doing with what is his name? One guy talked about Kalgu Malai.
Yeah.
Murugan, Lord Murugan is to stay
Yeah,
here.
yeah, 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 yeah.
When you're filming him, I remember I will ask Chalam to come and look through the frame, just see whether it's okay. And he will come and he says, Ramani, is it possible to get the hands? So then I'll bring the height of the camera a little lower, because that hand became a motive also in the film, because we were looking
Yeah,
at kids, and so even when we adults are speaking, the hands became a motive. So
yeah,
that was very nice kind of contributions and discussion, and it was quite nice, and it was a
yeah.
very amazing teamwork. And Jacob was almost there he is, Jacob. Okay.
Jacob is.
So yeah, so there are things that slightly fading, and uh, Jacob might remember something better if you can add something to that
Yeah,
experience
yeah,
of shooting. Maybe also the editing part of it. Jacob was in the editing process.
yeah. There are two questions already
Mm.
by participants.
Yeah.
One question is about was there any impact politically or socially after the film was screened at various places? Was
Yeah.
there?
Yeah. No, actually, I had invited one friend of mine, Tamil Selvan, he's from Sivakasi. He's a writer,
Yeah,
and he's also the Tamil Nadu, Progressive Writers Association's president. So he's from Sivakasi, and I had invited him. Whether I don't know whether he is here, because I
yeah,
cannot see the screen.
yeah, uh,
Tamil Selvan, his name is. If he's
yeah,
here, he will be the appropriate person to speak about it, because he said that he told me that he has screened the film Kutti, Japani and Kuzandaigal
yeah,
when it was done many places. They were kind of a team
oh,
where they had shown the
yeah,
film around, and he just told me last month actually that today there are no child labor in Sivakasi.
oh,
So that's what he told me, but I don't know what it means. So
yeah.
in fact, I invited him today for the discussion. I thought like we can put in some more.
Today everything is mechanized.
Mm,
Everybody is using automated matchbox, and the whole manufacture of matchbox. They are no more using that the same the wood shaving. Instead of that, they're using cardboard, and the cardboard is that's what is used, and they're using the wax version of the matchbox. They're no more using that stick version, the cheetah fight kind of a thing. Of course, there are small pockets which have been doing that. Some of the match industries, well, most of the other industries have
mm,
shifted to automated matchbox making, as it is done in Japan.
yes.
That is today's situation, because the one Mr. I don't know what is the name, but there is a question. What is the situation at Shivakashi today? Has it changed for better, like eradication of child labor and so on? That is
That,
the question. I don't know who is the person who is asking this question, but there is a market change with the change in law of the with regard to child labor. Um, Whereas in Karnataka, the situation is that most of them, most child labor is allowed up to 14 years of age. Anybody below 14 is considered as child labor. But in places like Shivkashi and others, they have made a rule that it should be above 18. Uh, so many of them are saved. Many of these child labor, who what we see in the film, that is not the situation. And one more, Mr. Manohar has raised his hand. If Deepu can make him come on screen, and if he has a question, you can certainly allow him to
uh,
ask.
Suresha, can
Yeah,
I intervene for a while?
yeah,
Yeah. So I had got a reply from Tamil Selvan some time back, just last month actually.
yeah,
He said that we used to screen this film in our area and hold discussions those days, and still at Sivakasi,
yeah,
child labor in match and fireworks industry has now been abolished.
yeah,
film also is a reason for that.
Yeah. That's a great achievement of a film, you know. Huh? If a film can do that much of a thing, the reason for filming such a thing, it's a satisfying feeling for a filmmaker. Anyway, Manohar, if you have a question, you can ask. Please unmute your mic and ask the question, Manohar.
Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
No, no, the question, that was my question.
Okay, okay, okay.
What is
Yeah,
the
yeah.
current situation in Shivkashi?
Yeah. Right now it is abolished. Child labor is abolished. Anybody below 18 cannot work anywhere in Tamil Nadu or in Kerala or even in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. But in Karnataka, it remains at the age limit remains at 14 years. Okay.
Now with the onset of these green crackers and all that, I think situation will again change. Is it not?
Yeah,
Whole industry will have a bigger impact.
yeah, the corona by itself has created different kind of an impact.
Yes, yes.
Most of the children who have stayed home have started helping their parents in selling their vegetable. They go on the road. It is also a kind of this thing and a child labor. Deepu, if you can answer more, you can answer. Yeah, yeah,
Uh, as far as, can you hear me?
yeah,
Yeah. As far as the child labor is concerned, there are actually reports which have been reported in 2019 also from Shivkashi
yeah,
about existence of child labor. But the proportion in which it existed is changed drastically.
yeah,
And this film is concerned not only in Tamil Nadu, this film has been, I am a person who's screening for last 21 years, the film, screened across the country and addressing the issue. So it has a political impact in raising this entire conversation in and around the issue. I don't think it can completely change anything, but constructing the conversation on child, labor and the situations of people in Shivkashi and other places. This film played an historical role.
yeah. It is. It's a pivotal role played by the film. We do accept. Nikhila, you had the second question which you wanted to ask Ramani. You placed it at the end of your this thing. You can once again ask him so that he can remember.
No, this was generally, I mean, for us to think about. Ramani sir can also think about it. This is about the question of the nature of the state and the 90s, just at the beginning of privatization or just before the beginning of liberalization and privatization, this is stopped. So there seems to be a greater faith and innocence about that the state can be benefactor, protect the laborers. Whereas now I think we are more cynical because the state seems to be a handmaiden of corporates and capitalists. So this was just something that occurred to me while watching the film. So there is a certain innocence or also a nostalgia for a lost time as viewers when we watch this film. Yeah.
Also, the questions that you're raising also comes from within the film, from the agricultural farmer, and also ladies who are working in the quarry, stone quarry. They are not directly connected to this match industry or the firecrackers industry, but the context is that the overall unemployment factor and the fact that everyone has to kind of depend on these kind of works because of the place. So these two questions they are the one who specifically speak about the chief minister and they use like those words, but within the match industry nobody speaks about it, and even Prabhakaran is not talking about the state. He doesn't bring the state into the question. He generally talks about the climate and
the society is the reason.
One of the factory owners, this Ignatius Nadar, I think, he says we send representatives every year. So it will be good if the state can help us. Then if the state helps us, then a lot of the workers will also improve. So he also talks about it as if the two can, or at least as if the state can, play a role in making the lives of the workers a little better. So there is that little aspect. And also, Ramani sir, I like that point that you make about the rhythm, because that is very noticeable in the film. For instance, there are shots where we hear the sound and nothing else. There are times when we see the visuals and there is, either somebody talking in the backdrop or the folk song. But when you want us to notice the rhythm, there is nothing else except like the folding of the matchboxes, and then slowly we see the visuals. And as the camera stays, the sound continues. These days with these short videos, mechanization and this what we earlier used to find fascinating with silent cinema of attractions, now that has come back into circulation these days, because people like to see machine and movement with nothing else. In this film, I saw some elements of that, where humans and machines, there seems to be no difference, or there is no separation between them. Humans are also as if acting mechanical. Yeah. Right. So in a mechanical kind of way. Yeah.
That's a contribution not just by the cameraman, but by also the sound designer. We see that continuously in the film. And even in the film that was made by Chalam, which was titled All About Famila, that was the idea, though the film was on transgender issues, he tries to use the sound as a tool to juxtapose various things. And the most important thing, as far as this film is concerned, it opens with a teacher talking to a kind of a Anganwadi kind of a school, where young children are being asked questions on what is Shivakashi. And the film ends on the same thing. By the time we reach the end, the circle is so very full and so very disturbing that the film creates an impact on whoever watches the film. And of course, governments can come and governments can create lots of rules, but there is a backdoor entry for child labor, both in hotel industry and even the printing industry, which is existing in Shivakashi, and even in the fireworks industry. Specifically, when they place this, we call it batti in Kannada. For every firecracker, there is an end to which you place your fire. To place that, they invariably use children, because they can, the fingers are so very nimble that they can place that. So even today, though it is legally abolished, there are people who are using child labor to manufacture such a thing. Not only in firecrackers, even in silk industry, there is a huge number of child labor. Situation is almost the same even in silk industry. Anyway, we have with us Ramani sir. Ramani sir, can you add up more on what happened, the journey after you completed the film? And then as I understand, the total length of the film was almost close to 10 hours. What was material that was shot was close to 10 hours. And both Jacob and one more person, both of them edited this film. I think it was Amitav. Jacob, can you add on that?
Yeah, I'm coming in. Hi, Ramani.
Hi.
Can you hear me? Hi. I just mentioned that it was about 10 hours.
Yeah.
Most my role was actually before the editing began.
Yeah.
My memory goes back to 1987 when Chalam came to campus. Ramani is 2 years my senior. He had passed out by then.
Oh.
Chalam had come with Smita Kothari, was a consultant for the project. And this film was many years in the, and they were discussing ways and means to do it. Ramani had passed out, and I was my final year, I think, 86, 87. But in all the years I was on campus, I remember Ramani. The reason, there was no doubt of Ramani is going to shoot the film was, he was always with a handheld camera, walking up and down like a madman, up the driveway, into the canteen, into the main theater, into us, always making it an appendage to his arm. The felicity with which he used the handheld camera was a straight. So when Chalam said, organize the team, I said, there's no two ways. It's Ramani all the way. Second reason was that Ramani and Suresh was my classmate, was from Bombay, but both their mother tongues are Tamil. And Chalam and I too can manage Tamil from Bangalore. And so we realized that while we are there with the children, even with the community at large and the children in particular, that we could converse with them in Tamil. And they were comfortable. After a while, they just forgot Ramani, camera, Suresh Rajamani, and then Agra was there. They were just chatting. That's the candid beauty you see in a lot of Ramani's work. His comfort with a handheld camera, the language, children didn't believe we were intruding. A lot of beautiful material was got that way. The other thing I'll add on to what Ramani was saying, that some of the central characters that Chalam had planned as the narrators for the film. There was a postmaster, there was the girl, along with Chinnadare. The little boy's name is Chinnadare, whose father's name was Chinnadare. Chinnadare, whose father's name was Chinnadare. Yes. And Ranganath was there, the commerce secretary. And of course, Prabhakar. So, in fact, once I had to travel to Madurai, the children's homes, when Chalam went to Madras, I had to pick up these kids and bring them to Madras, where Chalam flew them to Delhi for the International Child Rights Conference. And the material that was shot there, none of it was usable. So a lot of the plans that Ramani said, the narratives, the structures, was simply not possible. But the golden rule in documentary, you always get material you haven't anticipated, and you never get material that you planned. So the editor, in this case, Amitabh Chakravarti, did such a brilliant, brilliant job. I was paralyzed the moment I started editing, so I was back in Bangalore. But Amitabh, very, very kindly, he's again, Ramani's batch, 2 years my senior, took on the job. I did a fantastic job. So the brilliance in the editorial structure is wholly Amitabh. Of course, I had worked out an initial structure with Chalam, which is a couple of years in the way. But that is it. So it was an enjoyable experience. And the sheer liberty of having a 10:1 ratio, Ramani can vouch for that. And when a lot of things come together, the heart. I mean, Chalam had a heart for these children, but Bakaran was always there, living his life there. And finally, the end product was, it's seeable. It's there. And there's lovely joy working on that project.
That's a great addition to learning.
If there are any questions I could answer?
The idea of juxtaposing, the use of this voiceover of a classroom and a teacher talking to somebody. You know what is Shivakashi? You know what is Kutti, Japan in Kulam? What is Kutti, Japan? That is the beginning of the film. And it also ends in that. It's a cyclic thing. What was the idea, or from where the idea came? Was it through the shoot, or was it later on?
I think that specific beginning would be more Chalam's and Amitabh's. I have no clear memory of that. But we were there shooting, random shooting. And I told Suresh to shoot, record whatever you can. Ramani, of course, didn't need permission. He was shooting. He enjoyed himself. You give him a camera, he's a madman. And he suddenly, only after you see the material, you see what fantastic stuff is there. Now, some of the things were random. For example, the Villu Padal songs. When we shot it, Chalam wasn't too happy with it. I still remember, and then even at home when we were discussing this, Kalpana was there, Chalam's wife, and he was actually, no, I'm not going to use it. And I was saying, no, that is the ultimate contradictory joy in that. Krishna's childhood, and here these children being in the midst making fire. So it took a lot of convincing, but it worked. So these things happen in the process of making the film. Nothing was really fully planned. What he fully planned never worked out. But greater was what was given to us by grace that came in shots, in sounds, in people too. Mareshwari, the little girl, 6 or 8 years old, we spotted her from almost 100 meters off. Bare-chested, what we say, topless beauty, making the matches outside the factory. And she was grinning at us from that distance. So I straight away said, Ramani, just get her. I'm just kind of assisting Chalam. And she was there, not even stopping while chatting, making those, stickings and sticks. And she was saying, everybody go, and how you buy the vegetables from Mama. Such a beautiful child. And she would be such a settled character. So these were accidents, gifts from God that happened during the shooting. Some areas where permission was strictly not granted. Ramani just held the camera at his length. The owners of the factory not knowing the camera was running. And we just walked around saying, okay, we're not going to shoot. And we got away with some photos actually. So a lot of the candid stuff is the sheer gift of felicity Ramani has with the camera. Suresh and Ramani, all of us knew little camera that language does help. Ignatius was absolutely a gift, completely accident. When he realized, actually at some point he realized he was being taken, he said, our Lord Muruga, he resides on these hills. And then he went into the color of coconuts, red coconut, brown coconut, green coconut. He was so bad. But overall, an absolutely beautiful experience. I think Chalam let everyone have their space and everyone celebrated that.
Okay.
And actually, while we were shooting, it was the convocation of 3 years going on at FTI. And Rajamani and I missed out. We had much more than a convocation at Cinematographer.
Okay.
No, Jacob, I don't know this.
Yeah, I didn't know even now. I came to know much later.
Okay.
That's a great addition. Thank you, Jacob.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, that Ignatius, the factory owner, is actually it's a very
lovely person.
It's a unique person, actually. He's not a typical factory owner.
Yeah.
He's a different kind of factory owner.
Yeah.
So,
in fact,
though he is feudal, he is not. He's innocent also.
It's hard to, yes, absolutely. In fact, I was about half a minute late before they set up the shot. I walked in, I remember, and they introduced me. So this is Ignatius. So I said, not of Loyola? And he was so innocent. He said, yes. How do you know I studied in Loyola College? He was so innocent. It was not all black and white, In Ranganath, he just said, see, boss, we know we're not doing the best thing in the world, but we're able to provide children with a oppressive work condition, though we're robbing them of childhood. If you're giving them a little tire sadham, if you can add a little pickle, please do. His heart was there with the children. Whatever he could do, he would do.
Yeah.
Good man.
Yeah. Nikhila, you wrote a question on the chat. You can certainly ask. Both Jacob and Ramani will be able to answer.
Yeah, this is regarding the placement of the interviews in the narrative. So you've placed it in such a way that they seem objective. I mean, you want to give all sides to the story. That, as you said, now it's not just all one-sided. So certainly that comes across, but also there seems to be a certain kind of irony or a kind of belying of the claims made by the chamber person once we hear the other side or we see the quarry worker saying or whatever. So I was wondering what kind of editorial decisions you took with regard to the placement of the interviews.
Okay, the broad narrative structure is more or less, discussed even before the film was made. That will give both sides speaking space. Now, I have recovered from paralysis by the time the film opened at Chennai. It opened the Indian panorama at the IFFI screening at the International Festival in 91. So I was there. In fact, Ranganathan had reached Chennai. He had panicked because the Hindu had carried reports, large reports, of this explosive film on child labor in Cinematographer. He came on his scooter with his daughter and he met us. He was such a beautiful guy and his daughter. We arranged a private screening before the public screening for Ranganathan and his daughter. He sat with us, he saw the screening at Chennai and said, he knew the truth was out there. He said, you'll have done a balanced job. Congratulations.
Yeah.
But he was at peace. He knew that we are not manipulated. We had only put in actual footage of actual time. But to be fair to him, he thought the Chalam was doing a corporate film more than a documentary, But even then he trusted. And God bless him for that. There were some people that blocked us, but like Ramani said, there were situations he just got. The larger structure was more or less worked out in Chalam's mind. And then I think Amitabh and Chalam would have worked together to create the specific structure you saw. I was not there then.
Okay.
I was recuperating in Bangalore.
Okay.
But the idea-wise of, putting those matchbox labels, using of the Villupadu, because I remember Kalpana and Chalam coming home with the 16mm projector. I was paralyzed. And we were screening those rushes, rough assemble, and we were adding on the ideas. And that went back to Chennai, and Amitabh was the final man for that. All the brilliance in the editing rhythm is Amitabh. He's a naturally brilliant editor.
Okay.
Does that answer your question, Nikhila?
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
Right.
Do you have anything else to ask, Nikhila? If you have.
Not really, nothing that I can do.
Yeah. Ramani sir, you wish to add anything on to what we have discussed in toto about Chalam in particular and about the film?
Yeah, basically, Chalam, I had worked on many other works also, not only this film. After this Sivakasi film, we had a long shoot in Kerala and this place, Yadava community.
Kodagu.
Kodagu, that in that place we went and shot. So I had done a lot of shooting those areas also. The Paniyar community, Yarava community.
Yeah.
We were working on that film, and Chalam was very ambitious about bringing out a film around that. And we did a major shooting in that. And we did shooting in digital camera that time, it was just introduced, and also 16mm. Now that entire footage is, I don't know what happened to it. In the sense that somehow the film did not progress after the point, and then Chalam was constantly talking about it and said we should continue to work, but John is here. Adivasi Sangamam, that's what he was. That's when we were shooting that, and Chalam wanted to develop that into a larger film. Even he was talking about, he will suddenly call me one day, one night, sometime late night or something, that Ramani, I want to make this feature film, and now it is getting clear for me, And on the same topic, he wanted to make a feature film also based on this shooting that we already done. But that never happened. But his dream of wanting to make a feature film was always there. And he has spoken to me at least about 6 or 7 times in odd times, in odd hours. And he will call me and he will say that, this is what I want to do. And I have these images in my mind. And what do you think? And so I would always encourage him and say, like, yes, we should work on it and then talk about it. And that never followed up. Then he did a series of work with Shades only, with a lot of this documenting various, what do you call it? There is a word for it. In seminars and, where people speak about their lives. And So he did a lot of work of that
Testimonies.
Testimonials. And with that, he did a lot of editing work and created various kinds of work. That I always told him, show me those kind of works, because I was not involved in the shooting part of it. But he never showed me anything. And but he has done a lot of work. And maybe Kalpana can show me sometimes those kind of work. But he has done a lot of work on that area. And then this Famila film, when he started, he discussed with me, and there's also my friend and colleague, Sashikant, who is also from Chennai, cameraman. So something about dates, and Sashikant was then asked to shoot the first part of it. Then I came in at the later part. So we both did camera work for that Famila film also, and I did a lot of work with that, many shooting spots and many scenes, I would say, locations we went and shot. So that was also, I think that was the last one we did together. And then I just sent some pictures to Deepu. Deepu, I sent you some pictures from Kutti, Japani and Kuzandaigal shooting. And one picture of Chalam also I had recently shot. If you can just present it, it will be nice to see a context.
You can share on screen, Deepu.
I sent you in WhatsApp now.
Yeah. He has to transfer it onto the computer and then,
Ramani, since you mentioned Sashikant, it was Suresh and Nikhila, it was Ramani, Sashikant and Amitabh were all classmates, 2 years my senior, batchmates. And Sashikant was key to asking Amitabh to do the editing. They're very close. He has shot a lot of Amitabh's work. Sashikant's a filmmaker on his own, doing a lot of work on Mahabharata right now. as a documentarist. But he was key to bringing Amitabh onto the project.
Okay.
So little thanks to him too. And they were all classmates, Amitabh, Ramani, Amitabh, and Suchitra.
I have one more question, not directly related to this film, but specifically to Ramani as a cameraman. The shift from the celluloid to digital, how did you feel, and what's your take on the whole thing?
See, I'm very different in these positions. I wasn't received. Okay. No, I have no problems with any cameras actually. The thing is that moment you start holding a camera in your hand, it tells you how to work with that camera. And so it dictates the kind of style and kind of what are the possibilities and impossibilities. Everything it started dictating, and even if you say working with a Mitchell camera, which is like you cannot even lift it, you cannot do handheld with that camera. So you have to put it on a huge base, Those are the cameras that we initially trained ourselves in the institute, and they were considered to be the ultimate best cameras in the industry. But by the time you moved on to every year, a new technology comes in, and we are essentially consumers. We as cinematographers, we are just taking whatever is available in the market, the best technology or best possibility. So every camera, right from mobile phones today to any camera that you can talk about, each one does the same job, in terms of image making, with different proportions and different control situations and all that. But each one has an advantage and a disadvantage. So it is that question, and a 16mm camera is quite heavy. I mean, it comes almost this size, and it's heavy to carry. It's almost like 12, 13 kg or 15 kg maybe.
Yeah.
So, but you get used to it also. Any weight also you get used to it after a point. The body is a very strange mechanism that it adjusts itself to weights and anything. And things become part of your body after a point. Like, as Jacob was saying that any camera, give it to me for some time, it will become part of my body. And then, because that you should know what this camera can do and cannot do for me, and whether this is suitable for this project or not. There are many projects I shoot with any cameras. I'm not choosy about cameras. Any camera that is available to me at that given point of time, I shoot. Yeah. And then I make the best use of it. And I don't have any problems in using any kind of format to shoot a film. I take this information from artist friends of mine who are visual artists and painters and those people who are working with so many mediums, in their work. They mix media is one of the vocabulary they use. Any kind of, it's not like you always do an oil painting. It is not an ultimate or something, You do so many textures you work with, and I treat cameras like that. I treat cameras and formats and, resolutions, everything like that only. And if this is good for this, use it. And this is good for this, use it. Sometimes within a film, sometimes there are many cameras I've used, many different kinds of cameras, where each camera gives a different kind of texture, but it is used for those kind of sequences which requires that kind of a texture, So that way you can work. So I am not in any way complaining person about any camera. You give me any camera, I will shoot with this. So it's not a problem.
Yeah.
I have a question, if I can come in, Suresh sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to, it occurred to me while Ramani sir was speaking now that, as we said in the beginning, it's a 30-year-old film. But, if we think about contemporary, films that were contemporaries of this particular film, some of them may probably be unwatchable today. We may not be able to relate to the images or to the, so whereas there is such a freshness about these images and a contemporaneity, a contemporary ring to these images even today. So I was just wondering, has your own practice of filmmaking, changed since then? When you look back 30 years to the film that you have made, what kind of what is your own assessment of your own practice looking at this film?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think this film taught me about intimacy. It gave me an inroad into the element of intimacy. with characters front of the film. And this area I kept on working in many films, and also even sometimes worked against it also. That sometimes you don't need the intimacy, and sometimes the intimacy is not allowed. Those kind of situations also I worked with a lot. So the various permutation combination of what intimacy could be, or where it is leading towards, or where it is moving away from. I worked on those areas quite a lot. And the element of lensing became a very strong subject for me since then. It's not that I choose all the time one particular lens. I choose lenses accordingly to the requirement of the context of the situation and all that. So yeah, those things were major involvement right after this film. And yeah, engagement is one major aspect, which I think I've been working on it constantly, and till the recent one also.
Yeah. 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 Anyway, Jacob, you have anything to add on to what your experience with Chalam and the journey with Chalam?
Oh, Chalam's been a friend from the late 80s. And sorry, we were part of a theatre group I met in the early 80s in Bangalore.
Okay.
And his colleagues from CH Center were those that designed our sets for theatre.
Okay.
And three of us from that theatre group.
Shashidhar Adappa was your stage designer then?
Who?
Shashidhar Adappa.
Oh, he was there. He's worked on Nataks. Natak is the name of our theatre group, GNAT. Okay? He has worked with the group.
Yeah.
There was Chris and Jerry and Chris from CH, where Chalam and Kalpana do work.
Okay.
Design our theatre. And three of us from this theatre group got to Pune the same year, 84. We were there from 84 to 87.
Okay.
Chalam, so I've known Chalam from the early 80s. Very, very dear friend. His house, is one of the few houses I would stay on if the night got late and go home the next morning. He was also a kind of mentor in more ways than one.
Okay.
As I was telling Kalpana, he was quite an open university.
Okay.
He never hesitated to share his ideas, his beliefs, his passions, his dreams, his humor too. Very, very dear friend. It is a loss in more ways than one. His untimely exit in 2017. I do miss him. I do miss him a lot. There was one question I always asked him. Chalam, I used to dream of starting up a small kind of informal film school, and various things happened. It didn't happen. But you're more grounded. You're more here, and you were part of starting several journals. A long time, decades ago. I've always wondered why he wouldn't want to train. I don't know. That motivation wasn't in him to create another breed of filmmakers. I used to always dream about that, was unable to do it. But I think he was a lovely influence in a lot of ways. I think he had so much more to offer. Unfortunately, that hasn't happened.
Yeah.
But still, what all has happened is good. It's good.
Okay.
Thank you for this evening, Suresh. Nice meeting you and Nikhila.
Thanks a lot, Jacob, for joining.
Welcome.
Ramani, you have few questions from John. Probably it is so very personal that he has some footage. Probably it is not connected to the discussion, but John, you can certainly contact Ramani directly. And
John has been a very strong associate with Chalam, and they're very close friends, of course. And yeah, he is flowing with information on where the footage is, and he has all the footages of what we shot in Adivasi Sangamam.
He says he has footage of High 8, he has footage in various kind of formats that has to be transferred.
How do we transfer is the question.
Yeah.
We're all stuck with different formats now, and we don't know how to transfer them. The tape format decks are all gone. There is no good deck today. Player.
The Prasad Lab Chennai has some old decks which can play certain things.
Yeah, they are minting money playing.
They charge a bomb to convert anything. Those with real kind of the extra money that they can spend on converting things from one thing to the other, those people can go there. Yeah. Anyway, thanks to Nikhila, and thanks to Ramani, and thanks to
Well,
Jacob, and
yeah, just
also
say,
to Deepu.
he is going to show some pictures. Deepu is going to show some pictures.
Deepu has not received the pictures, so he is unable to show the
Yes, yes,
pictures.
yes, yes.
He explained in the chat window that he has not received. Anyway, let us try to catch up with what you have. Later, you can transfer it to Deepu, or you can write to email it to Suchitra Film Society. We can all share it to all the other members, so that if they want to have something more to learn about Chalam, let them learn. Thanks for being a part of today evening, to everybody and even the participants who continuously stayed with this discussion. Uh, Thanks to everybody. Let us keep on meeting again to discuss cinema and to grow ourselves and to do something better, that whatever we can do to this medium called cinema. Thank you.
Thank you, Suresh.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you, Jacob. Thank you, Deepu.
Thanks, Ramani. Lovely seeing you.
Thank you.
Thank you.